but you don't wanna give it to me.
And today, we've got a very good guest. It's like ASMR right now. Because it's hot with our spectators and our guests with an aspiration on the S. I hope you're enjoying yourself today. It's hot as a motherfucker. It's jungle hot. Shit. My ancestors is looking down on me embarrassed. Don't tell me swan make you sweat. That ass make you sweat. I don't even know. That's not even a proper retort for what you said. I'm so glad you guys are showing in force. I hope all my nerds and my blurs are there today. Thank you. You look magnificent as well. I thought I'd show a little skin. I'm really excited because my guest today, one of the nerd gods, if you will. He's worked at Marvel. He's worked at DC. He's worked at Spider-Man. He's worked on fucking Aquaman. He's worked on Lucifer. He's worked on fucking In Living Color. And he's worked on Beverly Hills 90210. This man is more than a myth. He's more than a legend. He is one of the Horcruxes necessary to solve the problems of the universe. I don't really read Harry Potter that much, so I don't... Harry Potter. I'm so nervous. My words are dangling. I'm doing this to make him feel comfortable. I'm really super cool. All right, you know what, Dan? I don't want to waste a minute more of your time. We usually have like all these bits that I do, and I don't have any bits. Okay, you know what? Today's sponsor is brought to you by procrastination. Procrastination. I was gonna get around to that. Hey, procrastination. Hey, was there a thing you were supposed to do, but you didn't do it because there was like a lot of other things, and so just doing none of them was probably better than doing that one thing you were supposed to do? Procrastination. Hey, yeah, I'm pretty good at this, but I bet I'll be even better if you give me a time, a dateline, and just like 5 more minutes. Procrastination. There when you don't want it to be. Procrastination. Yeah, I know. I could have done this earlier. Procrastination. Because why not just make it up? Okay, guys, that was our current sponsor, but better than that is our current guest, the one, the only Vice President HNIC of everything you've ever saw, the one, the only, Dan, the man, Candid, Every. Yes. Ah!
All right, let's do this.
Yes! It's morphin time!
I need Dragon Sword power.
What is it? So what is it about cartoons, Japanese anime, all of that shit, these fighting shows? What is it about like announcing the powers that you have right before you do it? It's always like double dragon kick. What is that about? Is that a translation thing or what is that?
Look, man, you just said it. That's what it's for. It's the play pattern. It's about telling kids they eating their cereal, these sugar bombs, and then he yells out, Dragon Sword Tornado, and then you go out in the backyard, you yell Dragon Sword Tornado, jump off your roof, break a leg, but you're happy because you're a kid. That's what it's like.
Okay. That makes sense because every punch I ever thrown since I was a kid had a name to it.
Yeah.
It was always just boom, boom. Dan, how are you doing, man?
Man, I'm all right. You know, it's a day. It's hot. It's so hot. It's too hot. I'm melting like a chocolate bar.
Is it hot where you are? I imagine there's fucking rolling blackouts. Does it feels like fucking Pelham 123 right now? It's very old school. I don't know where I am.
Well,
are you handling it?
You know, I mean, I'm not Malcolm Rich, but I do all right, and I'm living up in the hill.
Okay.
Not the hills, but on a hill, and it's about 110 degrees.
Okay, look, we're gonna start from the top. There's so much to cover, and you're involved in so much. I don't want to get too deep too soon, but how do you think we handle systemic racism, and do you think that's changing the way we interact within each other within the industry and how we are today? And do you think the face of race will change once African Americans are learning to stand up for themselves? Or do you think because of the current climate that we're dealing with, particularly the rise of civil unrest and the sort of rebirth of a second civil rights movement, have changed the way we looked at comics?
Well, Malcolm, let's break this into three parts. First of all, we have to address the pipeline. Then we have to look at the education system.
Okay.
Finally, what actions can our brothers, our allies, come together and help us solve the problem?
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Follow-up question, what was your first job in Hollywood?
Woo! My first job in Hollywood, my first official job in Hollywood, I was working on this show that nobody's heard of in living color with Keenan Ivory Wayans and Sean and Marlon and Damon and Cisco and BB Wayans, all of them. Every man in the world was on this show. But I was just a lowly PA because up until that point, I thought I was going to be a rocket scientist. And that's what I went to school for. And school taught me that I was just okay.
No one talks about the mediocre rocket scientist. They always talk about the best rocket scientist.
Everybody's like Einstein, Newton, Oppenheimer. Nobody's talking about Jay over sitting next to accounting. That he basically makes sure there's enough linen for the astronaut suits.
No one talks about who's making these astronaut suits linens. No. You know what I mean?
And that was probably the job I was going to end up getting, the astronaut suit guy.
Who, random trivia question, what's a Horcrux?
That is one of the 7 pieces of the soul of my man who can't be named. He spreads his soul out so you can't ever kill him. Every time you get him, there's still another piece out there, and he's like, boop, I'm back. And then he kills you with the unspeakable curse.
When you started to live in color, did you know it was going to be as big as it was?
No, because it was all black people.
Okay, so I'm so interested in this. What was it like to be a part of that? Because if you think about it, there wasn't, there've been black shows, but to have one executive produced, and in sketch comedy, right? You hadn't really seen sketch comedy with an all black cast produced with an executive producer. And one of the reasons that happened was because it was Fox, right? It was when Fox was first starting as a network. That's why they had shows like In Living Color and Married with Children, where they were taking chances on content you didn't regularly see. What was that like to work in not only a brand new show with an all black cast and a black executive producer, but also what was effectively a brand new network at the time? Television was sort of being remade. What was that like?
It was crazy, but it was also cheap. They had us in an office right next to A Current Affair. So the two productions were just constantly just cross paths with each other. So that's how it started. Beyond that, it was crazy. You're working with, these names that now are huge. Like I said, all the Wayans are there. You got David Allen Greer, you got Tommy Davidson, you had, some guy, Jimmy, Carey, something.
Yeah, he's doing some things.
Yeah, he's up in there. And at the time, he was living over there in Miracle Mile. He was in a little apartment. Looked like an ant warren. You had to figure out how to get. I would get lost every time I took a script to him. But all these people, they were just like, I got a job, I got a show, And so you would walk by the dressing room, and it's David Allen Greer, Tommy Davidson, and Jim Carrey trying to make each other just bust up laughing. And it was exciting, but people also forget behind the scenes, all those people that did costume, all the dancers, all the casting people, all of these people, all the writers are all now Emmy and Oscar winners.
Really?
The entire show was just made up of astounding people and myself, getting them sandwiches and so forth. But even then, we were just we're just making the best show that we can make. We figure, 20, 30 people will watch it, and then we'll get canceled. And so when it finally debuted, it was a surprise, because we had, the crews, usually they have, a nice T-shirt or a jacket or whatever. We like JoJo down on Crenshaw press out a couple of T-shirts or whatever. That was pretty much our crew gift right there. And suddenly everybody was famous. Suddenly people are just walking by yelling, homie, don't play that. Fireman Bill, all these jokes and everything. If you go back and watch that first season, when you're looking in the audiences and all the background players or so forth, most of that is the crew. That's like this. That's literally the production designer. It's casting. It's me. I'm in a couple of sketches. Like they're just like, yo, we need bodies, so just go in there. So it was just, it was a crazy time, and we just made it the best we could make.
What sketch did you see where you thought we're gonna get canceled?
I wasn't sure about. There was a bunch of sketches, but I mean, even Men on Film, I was like, is this too far? Is that? Mm-hmm. I mean, you gotta remember this is like 1990. It's not like it is now where you got Atlanta on the screen or whatever. This was very cutting edge humor that was always. I used to love it because you would just hear Keenan on the phone just screaming back at Barcast Standards and Practices. He's like, I will cut the fart joke, but I need this other joke or the whole show dies. And that was astounding. So, after that I was hooked. I was like, man, TV is fantastic. Let me get on this. I
just love the idea of Keenan Ivory Wayans just like, look, we're going to keep the butt heads, okay? All right? That's definitely going in. We're keeping Farrakhan, but we'll lose the other thing. We'll lose, like, I just love, like, that's like...
That was a conversation. That Farrakhan, I was always surprised it made it to the screen.
I was surprised it made it to the screen. What is it, The Wrath of Farrakhan?
Yeah, that I'm pretty sure that went through notes.
Now, what is that like? I always wonder what that's like to do such pointed humor, not just in terms of race, but like in terms of race and society, and to do that with what would seem like a very old white guard. Like, is there a sort of lost in translation thing happening? Is there a lot of sort of bait and switch?
I mean, I'm going to tell a side story for a second. I
love a side story.
I used to work on Power Rangers. And
yes.
At one point, I did a set of Power Rangers episodes. We went back and did the original first season, remastered, made it shiny and everything, and put a bunch of stuff on it. But for some reason, we had to go back through standards and practices again. So this one episode came up, and I got back this note. I have to cut like 10 minutes out because the standards and practices person was sure that Trini, the Yellow Ranger, was in fact cursing through the whole fight scene. And she specified words that I was blushing reading off of. I'm like, you understand this is Power Rangers. We didn't go shoot a new episode. But she was just sure, these kids today, their the potty mouths or what have you. And it went round and round, and I got to be in the process that I'm sure Keenan was going through every day. Where, you're like, look, let me keep this scene. We'll put music on top of it. They won't hear any dialogue. Even though we literally all sat there. We're sitting there with the editor, and he's running it back, and he's like, I don't know, maybe when she was like, hi-ya, with the kick sound on top of it, maybe it sounded like it was, F. I don't... like, doing serious science on that. So, when you're like trying to break new comedy, which is all In Living Color is doing, is just new funny stuff. I'm sure you're just in this state of there's no translation. They just know what they know, you know what you know, and you just bargain. At some point, you just send like bottles of wine over and like just let me have this joke.
What was the and what issue did Wolverine first appear?
That's Incredible Hulk 183. He's wearing the blue and yellow suit. He's sent by Alpha Flight as Weapon X to murder the Hulk.
Excellent. Okay, so Keenan Ivory Wayans, you're there with Keenan Ivory Wayans. You're there with Tommy Davidson, yeah. Jamie Foxx. I've worked with David Alan Grier, and we talked about this the other day, how insane it is to work with this person. What is it like to try and be in a room with people like that are constantly roasting the hell out of each other?
First of all, you learn to shut up immediately. Every PA makes a mistake of walking up on one of these cats. They think they got a joke. And once you get, roasted, like real roasted on the spit, and they're marinating you, and they're sure that you were dead and served around at the cookout, you never talk again. You just quietly like, here's your meal, Mr. Greer. But at the same time, like parts of Homie the Clown was in part about making fun of some of the PAs. That's it came from a PA who was sassing off, and he's like, "Yeah, Homie don't play that," over some request that they had asked of him, and the writers just thought that was hilarious, and they incorporated it into this comedy bit. So at the same time, you're around these guys, they take all this inspiration from literally anything going on. And you can see the difference between that and like people who are just struggling to just come up with an A to B joke. That was the exciting thing. But also they weren't ever in that point where they were like, "Oh, I'm so famous." Like you got to see Jim Carrey like just like, "Yo, I gotta get home. I got kids." You got to see David Allen Greer, and he's like, "I still gotta do my stand up." Because that kid, he won't stop. He's always doing something. He's either doing theater or stand up or something. He's always just honing that knife, and I think that's what everybody's doing. They're always just like sharpening the knife, just making sure they're always ready to go.
David Allen Greer is the most educated man I know to ever call me nigga on a regular basis.
Yeah,
repeatedly, with 100% love.
Total love.
That's all. My last 8 texts are just that, and just different. It's like an Inuit word for him for ice. So you followed In Living Color. What's the first sort of comic? What was the first? Now you've been working for years. You've been VP of Creative in all these places. What is the first sort of comic book scenario that you worked on that was like, oh my gosh, I remember I was a kid and now I am a part of this. Now I'm writing for, now I'm a part of creating for Miles Morales or for Peter Parker. Now I'm a part of creating for John Stewart or building this world and I'm a reference point and all of this sort of stuff. What was the very first, either be in actual comics or TV or movies, the first time you got to work on a comic that you loved?
Shoot. I'm trying not to curse because I don't want to take it out of context. Well, I used to work in the WB, and so
my baby,
yeah, the dubba, and because I was the only one who liked the cartoons, I used to watch Animaniacs. I watched Superman. I watched the Batman animated series. So that was the first time I was like near it. And I would talk to the animation people all the time. And it's like, oh, you should do this. You should incorporate that first. But the first time I really got to touch, the first time I was just like, oh my God. I was working with Marv Wolfman, who wrote, Teen Titans, the new Teen Titans. He wrote a bunch of stuff, Crisis on Infinite Earth. But he also wrote the original Bible for Transformers Beast Machines, which was one of the first all CG TV shows in the U.S. And, you get in this situation where first of all, you're sitting there and you're like, yo, I loved all these toys, even though I couldn't afford them as a child. I watched all the commercials. I watched the cartoons. And it's amazing now I get to say what Megatron is going to say next. But at the same time, I'm also sitting with this dude who literally wrote comics where I'm definitely going to rip off all his stories for something I'm doing later on because they're just that good. And he's just like, oh, I just don't know if the emotional arc is there for Megatron when he decides he must kill Optimus. And you have that disconnect where you're like, wait, we're talking about robots fighting each other in a very serious manner. I remember one time, still in that same job, I was like going to get something to eat, and these dudes are straight up yelling at each other, and they're like, the Martian Manhunter easily can defeat Superman. I mean, he changes shape. Superman can't even hit him. How's he gonna lose to him? Whatever, kryptonite. And these two dudes are high-paid animators. And they're just yelling at each other like they're talking about they owed each other money or something. It's a fascinating world to suddenly find yourself in.
When were the so how many versions of the Autobots are there, right? Like how many versions of the Transformers are there in terms of there's the regular Autobots and there's Dinobots, right? Like how many I'm out of my depth.
You are out of your depth here.
I'm out of my depth.
First of all, look, let me explain something. The first time,
please.
here's a question
Yes.
you're not going to ask. The first time I ever got a for real death threat was over Transformers. There was a BotCon in Indiana. We were going to go out there and talk about what we're doing with the show, blah, blah, me, the two showrunners. FBI calls Friday night. And they're like, I'm sorry, there is a credible bomb threat against you. You're going to have to cancel your plans. This is over robots. Robots in disguise, but robots.
They're in disguise, Dan.
So they
People don't know
canceled
that.
my plans. I didn't show up. Sorry, Indiana. I was looking forward to it. But I learned the lesson that you don't mess up their mythology either, man. So let me just put it as, 30,000 foot view. There's the Japanese version, there's an American version, and I think there've been, let's say, 15 versions of the conflict between Autobots and Decepticons.
Quick question: how many death threats have you gotten over comic books and or cartoon interpretations?
Specific to me, Transformers, Power Rangers, and I think one version of the Avengers. But in general, I used to work for Chaim Saban, and that brother used to get like monthly bomb threats, and we'd have to clear the building out. But it was over by Westwood, so we would just go see a movie and catch lunch until they told us we'd get back in the building. So I don't know if those add in or not.
I don't know if they count. Who's Zordon?
Zordon, he's the dude who gave the Power Rangers their powers.
What's the first introduction of the character of Black Panther?
Was that Jungle Action? I can't remember the number. You got me.
Yes. Okay. Got you, motherfucker. Ah!
Next question.
That'll play good in the highlights. Is that your most prized nerd position? What's your most prized nerd position do you think you have? You've been working in TV and comics for 30 years. If you say nothing, I'll be so angry, and it will make for bad television or podcast, whatever this is.
There's my comic that I wrote.
What is that?
It's this comic book called Texas Strangers. It's about these kids. It's a whole different period of my life.
Tell me, what do you think this fucking show is for? Do you think we not have time to talk about your fucking comic book? Who do you think the audience for this show is? Where they're like, no, I didn't tune in to watch this guy I've never heard of talk about discuss his first comic book.
It's these kids. They stumble on a cursed knife. It has to be returned to its original creation site in the middle of Texas, and they get up into hijinks and mischief.
Is this your only comic? How many comics have you written?
I wrote that. I wrote some stuff in here.
Yo Gabba Gabba?
Yeah. I wrote I wrote the there you go. The Electroshock Rock Walk.
Okay.
But I also wrote some other stuff in there. But I don't know. And then I wrote a bunch of cartoons for Stupid Monkey. And occasionally I just stumble and fall on my keyboard, and then I email it to people. So,
my mom is requesting that you show your comic book again. So
if your mom's asking, I better show it.
my mom wants to see this comic book.
I can't say no to your mom,
You know what I mean?
who I adore her. There you go. That's issue 2, where things get hot. Kids tied up in wagons full of dynamite. I don't know why they're transporting dynamite in the wagons.
No, it's the safest way to transport dynamite. What's the name of that comic?
It's called Texas Strangers.
Okay, you're going to see an uptick of at least 3 to 4 people buying that comic. Now
I
that
will
you've been
not
on-
because that comic was 2007. I don't believe it's been published since.
Oh, it's a collector's item.
Yeah, you got to go look on eBay or something.
Okay, I'm going to go to eBay right now and look for, what is it?
It's called Texas Strangers.
Okay, who is Lube Man?
Lube Man, for real or just in general? He's Agent Petey. It's explained in the Peteypedia after episode 9 aired of Watchmen.
Okay. How many television appearances do you have?
At least 3 times on In Living Color. I'm in the crowd for Michael Jackson's halftime show, but you probably can't see me there. I'm in a video of Terminator X's. I am in a movie. Oh, wait. I'm in the last radio station as featured dancer.
I saw that. Usually I have clips on my show from people doing things, but I feel like you're the only person that has these clips of what you've done.
I hope so. Hopefully no one has these clips.
You worked.
Oh, and then Dan from Accounting on Powerless. That's the last one.
Yes, you were Dan from Accounting for Powerless, which was with Danny Pudi and I think Vanessa Hutchins maybe was on there. Ron Funches,
friend
So
of
good.
the show.
Another
Friend of the
person I've
show.
been roasted by.
Have you been roasted by Funches?
Yeah.
I did his show Getting Better and told a story of how I may have started a fight with a big guy. I don't know I shouldn't have. It was my fault.
Right.
But the guy was an asshole, for the record.
Well, in that case,
For the record, the guy was an asshole. I just want you to know that. So yes, there's you worked at some point with Michael Jackson at some point, yes?
I was his PA for a little over a month on the Super Bowl halftime show. I know this is a controversial thing to say, but I love Michael Jackson for that month. He's a great person. You can take that however you want.
You can take. Hey, it's not controversial on my show. My shit, we're fine. You worked for a month and a half. So wait, you worked there. You've been a PA for Michael Jackson. You were a PA in Living Color.
Yeah.
What's the craziest shit you saw at that halftime show? What was the shit that you went, holy fuck, what am I doing here? Why? How am I a part of this moment?
Oh,
What is going on?
I love this story. I saw some craziness, but I love this story. So the entire month leading up to the halftime show, it was pouring rain in Los Angeles. Like nonstop monsoon season rain every day. So we had to find like new places to do rehearsals. And the thing about Michael is, and this is all pre-internet, Michael would go places and the Michael Jackson network, I guess, would like call each other and be like, yo, Michael Jackson's here. And then they would burn our spot. We'd have to move again, like crack dealers. So one time we're in Hollywood at this audio space and the rain, I guess, knocked out the power for a bit. So while we're down, we're all just stuck in this room, sitting there, PAs are doing whatever, the grips, whatever. And my man is another PA on this thing. He comes over, he just throws an elbow in my ribs, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And he's like, and we realize Michael Jackson is singing a song, and the lyrics of the song are what everybody in the crew's name and what their job is. He's just like, Mike is carrying the lights up and down the stairs, and he's just working his way through the room as he sees people. And it's a magic moment because everyone is slowly starting to realize Michael Jackson just sang their name, and we're all coming to a stop listening to this song. And it was just this moment of beauty. And then the AD comes in. He's like, all right, power's back on, everybody. Let's get back to work. And then Michael immediately shut off. That was it. And, nobody had a phone or anything. And we're like, no! And just in my memory, that's probably the last thing I'll be humming as I die is that Michael Jackson song. Dan is my favorite PA or something like that.
That is the most that is so touching.
Although, and I'm sure this is the story you really wanted. There was another day where we're all working, and he had his whole entourage, and there was a bunch of kids there too. And these are like, Make-A-Wish kids or whatever. They're all there. They're like, Michael, blah, I want to watch this. Michael. And suddenly Michael just turned around. He's like, "Will somebody get these damn kids out of here?" And I come in there, and I'm like, "All right, everybody gotta go. And the sad part is all of a sudden somebody's pushing back. I'm like, "Come on, man, we gotta go." And I look down, and it's Emmanuel Lewis, and he's got a big video camera. He's like, "I'm not a kid." He pushes around me, he walks around, and goes back over to Michael. So I knew you would enjoy that story.
I just love one kid who's just like, bye, Michael.
To be fair,
This kid.
they were loud, man. Those kids were loud.
They had their voice.
Nobody could hear.
Michael can't hear. That is the story I wanted to, because my follow-up question was going to be, have you ever heard Michael Jackson curse? Which would amuse me.
No, I haven't. Sorry.
I want that so bad. This is going to be super random. What was the first time you were on screen? Do you remember?
It's probably that stupid Arsenio Hall sketch. Oh, wait. No, it was that last radio station.
Last radio station?
I'm doing that sweet robot.
Yes. I've seen video of you doing a robot. I have videos of you doing martial arts, some sort of kicks.
Oh, please don't show that video. Any other video's fine. Don't show that martial arts video. A brother's just trying to get into shape. You can't make fun of me for that.
No, I'm not making fun of you. It's the context is what I find, because here's what people don't know. You're like, you're what us actors call a suit, right? But you've lived an insane life. And so when I think of all the things, what's up, Liz is in the building. When I think of it, I go, okay, he was a PA for Michael Jackson. He PA'd at 11 Color. He's worked on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. He's worked on Lucifer. He's worked on Gotham. At what point did he have time to do a martial arts training video where he's in the background, where he's third from the left? Like what? At what?
You gotta understand my life philosophy. It is, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Again, I spent my whole life like, I'm gonna be a rocket scientist, and then realized I was terrible. So this TV thing, I was just like, I'll try that, and I just was like, I would try anything. Like I do background, I do art, I do whatever, and sometimes people are like, "Hey, I just need you in my martial art exercise video series."
How many episodes of this series are you in?
I should know, but I'm going to just say 8. That sounds like a good number.
What was the name of the series? What the hell is the series?
I think it's called like Wing Chun, exercise videos. They're on YouTube, but I'm not going to help you find them.
Guys, if you guys care about me or love me at all, you'll for sure bring up this video and get me a clip whenever you can, please, if you really care about me. What is that fist?
Somebody was asking what the pins were. So I got Starman, Jack Knight Starman, which I also have the tattoo on my shoulder, and Tell Black Stories.
And Tell Black Stories. Why do you have a tattoo of Starman?
It's nerdy, super nerdy, but at the same time, it seemed legitimate, when I wasn't married, to random women. It just looks like a zodiac.
Now, this is for a lot of fans, and hopefully, what I like to do is help inspire people. With all that sort of nerdy things behind you, when did you lose your virginity? Was it late? Was it early? What?
Wow, there's a lot of friends on this feed right now, but I want to say it was 17, Madison, Wisconsin.
You lost it at a normal age.
Yeah. Man, I ran track. I wasn't always nerdy. I mean, I was always nerdy, but I also had some things I could mix
that could offset it a little bit.
He's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's got a Starman tattoo, but he runs quickly.
Yeah. Somewhere in Wisconsin, there's a sign that literally says Dan Evans with a record, school record.
Really?
Yeah.
What project have you worked on do you think people would be most surprised about?
I used to work on this Lifetime medical series, and there's nothing exciting about it. It was just like this week in gout. That was pretty crazy. Shoot. I worked on this one pilot that literally we were shooting when the riots broke out. And so in that video, when Reginald Denny's getting hit with a brick, you can see I think it was our cameraman driving around him trying to escape the whole chaos. Shoot. Oh, man, I worked on Last Action Hero.
You worked on Last Action Hero?
Yeah, with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was like almost a parody
scene where he's driving, and I was a second AD, so I had to go door to door and get people to sign off. I'm like, "Yo, we're gonna shoot guns right now. You're okay with it?" So I'm going through, and I get to this one, and brother's like, "Oh, yo, hold on." And I'm standing there. I'm like, yo, I seriously, I gotta get these other signatures. And brother comes out with a bag, and he's like, yo, you need guns for this? I got some. And I look in, and there's for real guns in this bag. And I'm like, yo, we're good, man. There's cops over here. Maybe he's like, yo, yeah. Good looking out. And then he like signed off, but I'm sure it wasn't his real name. But he signed off on the release, and he's like, yo, let me know when Schwarzenegger's here. And I'm like, yeah, that'll happen. I pieced out of there.
I love the well-meaning gun dealer.
Yeah.
That you ran into.
You know, he's a collector. We don't know the deal. Maybe he's just collecting them. You can't be too safe, Malcolm.
That's fair. He could have just been a patriot. So one thing that I was surprised that you worked on was Beverly Hills 90210.
All right. That's the question, and then I thought of another crazy one.
No, please, no. This question has no real follow-up. It's just me setting up something and knowing that you'll tell a story.
All right.
It's really.
I just bring up a thing and go.
So I used to work on American Gladiators, the old school American Gladiators.
Somebody brought that up in here.
What I did not know when I got the job is it's the PA's job to test all the games before they actually bring contestants in. And that includes like the new stuff. And so at some point over the summer, somebody designed what's basically a slot racing track that's suspended 30 feet in the air, upside down, and it's Velcro. And you just, like a crazed hamster, just run around this slot track and try and beat the other person. And apparently there's a gladiator who just hangs there, just beats on you as you come by. So they hook us up, and then they pull this whole track up in the air. And I look down, and it's just the concrete floor of a soundstage. And I was like, should we put some pads down? They're like, no, it'll be too much trouble. Take too long to get the pads out, bring them back out again. Don't fall. Look, if you fall, you got bigger problems than hitting the pad. And then they're like, all right, go. And I take off. I'm competitive on this. And this other PA is a punk. So I'm just, and I'm taking the curve, and you're hanging there. So you just let go and just let yourself coast around those curves. That's a little hint. And when it ends, I feel like this dripping. I'm like, man, I didn't think I worked that hard. I didn't think I was sweating that much. And I look, and my hands and my knees are covered in blood. because it turns out Velcro will scrape off all the skin on your body. And I'm hanging there. I'm like, hey, can I get like a bandage or something? And they're like, do you feel faint? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm bleeding though. He's like, just go one more time and then we'll bring the whole thing. So, yeah. Bleeding for my job.
I love, can I ask you this? Do you have much more of a respect for PAs now that you've lived that life, or are you still a dick to them anyway?
No, I always like PAs until they're a dick to me.
Got it.
And that inevitably will always happen that I'll be on a production and one PA will be a dick to me because they think I'm just some black dude on the set. And I just hate extras because I used to be a second, and your job as second is to corral extras, and all extras do is eat all the food and then try and get on camera. And so, like, you know, you're like, I need you to sit there. You're a couple. You're eating dinner. Please don't look at the stars. And sure enough, you look in the camera and dude's like, and they're making these huge motions, and you're like, please, we all want to go home at a reasonable time. Just eat your food. So after enough of that, I just came to hate all extras.
That's fair. What you worked on Beverly 90210. I'm talking about it like I've never heard of this show ever. You worked on some Glendale 915.
Glendale.
Yeah, I did the 4th season, 5th season. So last year of high school, first year of college.
So you did it when they were all 47.
They were 37. Yeah. So that was Brenda finishes up. That's the last years of Shannan Daughtery. I can tell the story. So
Yes.
after it was all over, you know, she has a reputation of being fiery. And
by fiery, you mean she's often fired.
And she decided her birthday was literally the same time as her last week of shooting. So she's having this huge party. And she invited me because she used to, well, she would be late getting the set, and I have to go to her house and get her. And then it happened so often, like she would make a game of it. And sometimes she would make a bet that she could beat me back to the stage, and then I'd have to buy her lunch. So I'm poor, so I would drive in my little Honda like I was doing, you know, against all odds, just weaving through the traffic in the hills. Anyway, so she invites me to her birthday party, and literally 3 fantastic fights break out. There is a fight between 2 girls over another girl. There was a fight with this drunk dude literally picked up a beer bottle on the side of the bar. And he's like, you want a piece? You want a piece? And then security came in and beat the hell out of him. And then the grand event after the 2 warm-ups is when she punched my man from House of Pain in the face because House of Pain was picking on her boyfriend at the time. So she ran down the street. She's like, leave it alone! Pow! Right in the jaw. Best part is I'm standing in the door watching this happen, and I want to say it's the Star magazine, I guess. The full cover page is the whole triptych of her running down the street and punching him in the face. And I was there, but they airbrushed me out.
They airbrushed you out?
They airbrushed me out.
Did she punch the fuck out of Everlast?
No, it was Danny Boy.
Okay, Danny Boy. All right, Danny Boy deserved it, though.
It was a solid punch, too. Dude, like, rocked back, but, you know, I mean, she's like 85 pounds, and she, like, rocked it. And he went back, and then and he just laughed. And they were like, whatever, we'll leave that dude alone, and they left him. Like, I don't know, 6 or 10 months later, I was out with a friend, and we run into House of Pain in some bar in Glendale for some reason. And I got to hear his side of the story, and he like made it sound like she was just crazy and just ran up on him, and he was just having a conversation. So I don't know what the truth of it is. Hollywood Rashomon.
What was Neil Gaiman's first published work?
I love Sandman, but I
Mm-hmm.
do not know his bibliography at all.
Okay. Who's the original lineup for the Avengers?
That would be the Hulk, Ant-Man and Wasp, Iron Man, Thor.
Okay. I don't really know the answer, so that's
Until episode 7. I mean, until issue 7, man.
Would
I
you
know
say?
you thought you were tripping me up. Captain America doesn't show up until issue 7.
okay. We out here. All right. Here's my other question. Now I'll get to stuff that isn't like just trivia and stories. I knew you'd have such interesting stories. What's your favorite sort of new sci-fi? Like, what's the shows you're watching right now? Like, I'm actually excited. Like, I'm actually excited by the fact that I'm looking at stuff like Lovecraft Country and Watchmen and all these sorts of things. Project Power. It feels like there's this sort of surge in black narratives in terms of sci-fi and genre stories. Do you think that's hitting the public eye a little bit more? Are you excited to see it? Which works are you excited to see? All those questions in one.
Well, you named most of the ones I'm excited about right now, so I'm kind of stuck there. But it's exciting, I think, in part because you have. I'm sorry, I'm not watching Umbrella Academy. I don't know why. It just won't connect with me. I don't watch The Expanse either. It's another one I know. Legends of Tomorrow is great.
Oh, I had a real question about that. I'll ask later.
Oh, no, ask it. Because I'm trying to tap dance out of this other question.
Okay, great. Well, this is going to be an expansive one, too. Which is, okay, so you're essentially, one of the reasons I have you here is because you are behind the scenes of so many cartoons and comic book TV shows and movies that I love. A big thing that's happening is crossover episodes is a thing of bringing, one movie to a greater universe, the DCEU and the Marvel universe. What does it take behind the scenes wise to cultivate and create a crossover universe, both on television and in movies?
It takes a ton of money and a lot of patience, because you got to build each one of those legs. People always forget about the fact that when Iron Man started, nobody knew who Iron Man was. Like, at best, people were like, "Oh, he's just like fake Batman in an iron suit." So Marvel had to really build that movie, and you had to love Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and as Iron Man. And then from there, they built each piece of the foundation. Cap and Hulk and Thor. And you can argue about how successful they were, but by the end, you knew all of those characters. And we do the same with the TV side on DC. We built from the start. We started with Arrow, and Arrow gave you that sense of a universe. And then when the Flash shows up, and literally when the origin of the Flash happens in Arrow, you're like, okay, this is a bigger universe. There's a lot more going on here. And then from there, the Flash, it opened up the door for Legends, opened up the door for Supergirl and the multiverse there. People just want to jump right in, though. A lot of these other people, they're like, well, we got a bunch of stuff. We're going to make a universe, And next thing you know, you're sitting there waiting for, I don't know, like Mask and the Transformers to be in the same universe or something. But they're so busy with trying to get that big thing that they haven't gotten the pieces interesting. So you want to be there to see what those pieces do in the bigger game, in the bigger project. And you kind of have to have somebody who can sit back and go, look, this is the rules of the whole universe. That corner over there does this corner does that. And when they come together, you have to know why they're all coming together. Otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's time.
How hard was it creating the Crisis in Infinite Earth series, right? Because I think it's literally I think it's monumental, right? It's record breaking. There's never been that many characters, that many different properties and titles crossing over on network television. What were the realistic hurdles you ran into trying to oversee that happening or being a part of the thing that made that happen?
Malcolm's asking real questions.
I know.
Get my hair right. All right. Well, the biggest thing is it's a balance. You got to go, how much of this is a fan thing and how much of this is there's some new kid who just turned on the TV, saw this crazy logo, and they're like, well, I got to find out what this is about. And so that was the biggest start of it. From there, a lot of decisions were made, and I'm pretty sure Peter Roth is probably still ready to strangle me, but, we looked at the big story and worked it out so it could work for television. It's faithful adaptation, but it's not strictly the adaptation. And then from there, you start slotting in stuff. You're like, well, I love this moment. I love that moment. I love these characters. And we've never had, for instance, in Crisis, you never got to see before then Black Lightning interact with Diggle, which is a great moment between those two. When you have the two Lightnings, when you have Flash and Black Lightning, and they're talking about the trauma that both brought them to these great epic points of heroism, and you see the commonality, even though they're very different people and they have very different ways of addressing, justice and heroism, and finding these beats about what is it we love about this type of storytelling. That's how you build these big Crisis, style crossovers. Is you got to find that story, because if the story is just big monster attacks and we're just going to put everybody on the screen, everybody gets bored after a while. They're like, well, I saw my favorite character and they only have 3 lines. I'm going to turn the channel now. But if you're in there and everybody has a reason, everybody has a point, their skill set does something that affects the story one way or another, somebody gets possessed, what have you, and then it turns the whole machine the other way. It's, I think Mark Guggenheim and I definitely put away a bit of alcohol just trying to figure out the overall construct of it. And then you have these amazing people like Eric Wallace and Robert Rovner and Jessica Queller on Supergirl. You have, Salim on Black Lightning. You have all these great writers that are coming in, like Sterling Gates and so forth. They both love the property, but they love the job and they want to get their love in there. So they're like, this scene has to be amazing. Like, I want to sit there and feel something every time I watch it. And then, again, you go back to the big 30,000 foot view and that guy's like, okay, this scene, if we're going to keep this scene, it has to work here. So you get that feeling. And then at the end, you come in and you go, cameo time, and you just throw cameos like crazy in there. You're like, oh, what other DC shows have we done? I'm sure if we could have gotten away with it, we would have gotten, the Legends of the Superheroes guys to do some walkthroughs or something. But, I got to talk to Burt Ward, and I'm full of joy about that, because that's my Robin. It's just trying to find those beats to go, hey, we recognize you as a fan. We want you to know that we haven't thrown away all the stuff that made you love all of these things in the first place. And now we're trying to add to it, and we want you to be along on that journey. That you see that in the Crisis. I think you see that in Endgame. The people are like there, and they know that these things they care about are part of this big experience. It's not just like sprinkled in for no reason.
I love that you gave credit to all those writers, but no one gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck about who wrote these fucking shows.
Who gives a
fuck? I mean, that's specifically to our friend Derek. What?
Wait, I forgot to say Lamont. He's gonna kill me.
Lamont, of course. Lamont's great. Writes for Black Lightning, writing for a million things. He's amazing. Blah blah blah. So he's gonna
back to the funny story.
Yeah, he's gonna punch me later. So what was your biggest get aside from Burt Ward? Was there a bigger get that you super loved? And then who did you want, or what storyline did you want in the Crisis on Infinite Earths that you didn't get? I heard this thing like Michael Keaton was. There was a theory that he was going to be involved. Which one were you guys working on and came really close and it didn't happen? Is the Michael Keaton thing true? He's thinking, ladies and gentlemen.
Gentlemen, he's thinking. He's
I know
trying to.
one of
He's,
them.
Balancing his career versus the tea.
One of the ones that I super wanted, and we just couldn't connect in time to make it happen. It wasn't a problem on either side; it's just scheduling. But we really wanted Ryan Reynolds to be Green Lantern one last time,
Ah!
and then the whole place gets blown up, and he's like, "Ugh, finally finished," kind of thing. But I don't. You know, we literally tried to get everybody. You know, I mean, we got, Birds of Prey from CW. We got, like I said, we got Burt Ward. We got anybody we could think of. Robert Wolf from the original Batman movies. We just had this huge list, and then we ran out of money, and we just started crossing people off.
That's funny.
But that was pretty much it,
All right, we're coming down to near the end of the interview, so I'm going to ask.
Oh.
I know it's been crazy. You've been excellent. I'm going to ask 2 or 3 more questions. Hopefully they're good. Here's a really quick one. What is the secret to adapting a cartoon into a TV show? We only got about 30 seconds. What's the secret to adapting, a comic book into a good, successful TV show or movie?
Big story arc, huge mythology.
What's the key to doing it well?
Me.
Copy that. What is the name the Fast and Furious movies in order?
Oh, in order, chronological, or
from one to how people have seen the movies?
goes Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious. Then you jump ahead to Fast and Furious 4, Fast and Furious, Fast 5, Fast 6. Jump back to my beautiful favorite, Tokyo Drift, which is Fast 3, Fury 7, 8, and then 9. I used to know the Japanese titles too, but I've forgotten them.
You're the person that let me know there was a Japanese title. What's the turbocharged prequel? What is that?
Oh, yeah. I ignore that.
Okay, great. Okay, very last question. We've got 10 seconds. We haven't gotten as political as we usually do because we've just had awesome stories, so it doesn't matter. Politics, life, whatever it is. Quick, tell me your 3 favorite things in general that you love, and what do we do now? All time is all yours. You've got 15 seconds.
I love that Barbara Streisand once told me I was drunk. I love Michelle Obama, and I love this job of making stuff, fantasies into reality.
And what do we do now?
Hire me to do your work.
Dan, this has been an excellent interview. Is there anything you want to leave the people with?
There's this one time.
You say you wanna, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you wanna, but you don't wanna give it to me. You say you need it, but you